40 million Americans are sitting directly in the path of what's coming this weekend, and a whole lot of them don't even realize it yet. 2 back-to-back winter systems are lining up over the next 72 hours, and the one most people are sleeping on is actually the second one, the one hitting Tuesday. And then, just when you think we're done, the Storm Prediction Center has already issued a severe weather alert for next Wednesday, March 4th. And the models are not messing around. Right now, today, things actually look pretty quiet. A high-pressure system is locked in across the northern plains, giving you a false sense of calm before everything changes. But here's the thing, a cold front is already on the move, dropping south through the Great Lakes. And the moisture it's about to run into is going to create some seriously messy conditions. Meanwhile, down south and across the southwest, temperatures are running so far above average right now that it genuinely feels like mid-April, and that warm air is actually part of the problem. Because when you've got that much warmth and moisture pumping in from the Gulf, and then Arctic cold slamming down from Canada, that clash is exactly what fires up major storms. And that's what we're dealing with. So, let's get into it, starting with where the first punch lands this weekend, and why this one is trickier to nail down than it looks. The Midwest is ground zero for the first system. And the honest truth is that forecasters are still wrestling with one critical question: where exactly does that rain-snow-ice line set up? The GFS model, the most aggressive of the bunch, is showing heavy snowfall developing late Saturday night, spreading from northern Missouri through St. Louis and back into Illinois by early Sunday morning. Chicago. You're looking at snow showers Saturday with 1 to 3 inches on the table. Northwest winds gusting to 25 miles per hour, and highs only in the low 30s, so basically a classic lousy February weekend in the city. Milwaukee, same story. 1 to 3 inches of snow Saturday, winds cranking up to 30 miles per hour. And man, this is going to feel jarring after that stretch of mild weather you folks just had up there. Kansas City, here's where it gets dicey, because you're sitting right on that knife's edge between a snow event and a freezing rain event. And the difference between those two outcomes could mean very different things for your roads and power lines. Omaha and Lincoln in Nebraska, you're watching for snow with temps in the 30s for highs and 20s overnight, and winds 15 to 25 miles per hour through the weekend, making that cold feel way harsher than the numbers suggest. Wichita, Kansas, you're in that wintry mix zone too. Winds gusting to 25 miles per hour, and travel through Saturday night into Sunday morning could be genuinely rough depending on exactly where that ice band sets up. Minneapolis and St. Paul, you two are running some of the coldest numbers in the entire country right now. Highs only in the low 20s, 1 to 3 inches of snow expected Saturday. And wind chills are going to be absolutely brutal. If you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or anywhere in the upper Midwest right now, drop your city in the comments and tell us what you're seeing on the ground, because your real-time reports actually help us understand where that snow band is tracking. Now, here's your bottom line for the Midwest this weekend. Keep your National Weather Service alerts pulled up, because conditions can flip from annoying to genuinely dangerous within just a few hours. And this one is still not fully locked in. Down in the Great Lakes and Ohio Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo. You're all sitting in a multi-day mess of snow and ice stretching from Sunday all the way through Tuesday, with winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. Detroit, you're right in the thick of it. Highs barely cracking the low 30s, snow showers, winds making everything feel below zero. At times, the polar vortex hangover is very much still alive up there. Indianapolis snow showers with possible icing are on the table, and Fort Wayne is in the same boat with snow and ice. Winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. It's shaping up to be a rough start to the work week across Indiana. Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, listen up, because you're sitting in that transitional zone where snow, sleet, and freezing rain are all in the mix, and roads could be downright treacherous by the time Sunday night rolls around. All right, now let's talk about the second system, the Tuesday event, because this is the one I want you to pay real close attention to, especially if you're along the East Coast. As we push into Tuesday, a more organized ice and snow event is expected to take shape from the mid-Atlantic all the way through New England, and at this point, I have more confidence in this one than the weekend system. New York City high of 41 degrees Fahrenheit, low of 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and light snow with a rain mix is possible Sunday through Tuesday, with winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. And yes, before you say anything, I know you guys just got pounded by that nor'easter. That historic storm on February 22nd through 24th dropped up to 3 feet of snow on parts of the metro and recorded 98 miles per hour wind gusts, so compared to that, what's coming Tuesday is dramatically less intense, but still worth your attention. Boston high of 37 degrees Fahrenheit, low of 26 degrees Fahrenheit, snow mix Sunday through Tuesday, winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. You're still in blizzard recovery mode, and now you're layering more winter weather right on top of that, which is just rough. Philadelphia light snow and ice mix Tuesday. With rain possible Monday leading into it, this is actually one of the trickier spots because that warm air fighting against the cold could mean you flip between precipitation types multiple times. Washington, D.C., same setup for you. Light snow and ice Tuesday, rain Monday, winds 10 to 20 miles per hour, and honestly, given everything this area has dealt with this winter, you folks deserve a break. But it doesn't look like you're getting one just yet. Baltimore. You're in that messy snow, sleet, rain transition zone Monday and Tuesday, with some of those wild temperature swings that make the precipitation type almost impossible to nail down until we get within 12 hours of it. Pittsburgh snow is on the way with winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. And Buffalo, you're still dealing with blizzard recovery. And now here comes more snow showers on top of it, with winds staying gusty through the weekend. Hang in there. Western New York. Now here's the reality check for everyone in the Northeast. Ice accumulation looks to stay mostly under 1/4 of an inch. So we're not looking at a major ice storm situation, but do not let that make you complacent. Even a coating of freezing rain, just a thin glaze, can turn your driveway, your front steps, and every bridge and overpass in your area into a skating rink. And isolated power outages are still very much on the table. Newark and Jersey City light snow with a rain mix and winds up to 20 miles per hour. Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and Chesapeake are looking at rain and a possible mix with coastal flooding still lingering from recent storms. Raleigh and Charlotte, your heavy snowfall from earlier this month is still fresh in everyone's memory. But this round looks mostly like rain for you, with no significant snow threat, and highs in the 50s through the weekend. Now here's where I need you to sit up and pay attention, because what's coming after the weekend is actually more significant in many ways than what's happening this weekend. The Storm Prediction Center has already put out a slight risk of severe weather that's a level 2 out of 5 risk for next Wednesday, March 4th, across the Deep South and Southern Plains. The target zone right now includes areas near Little Rock, Dallas-Fort Worth, southeastern Oklahoma, and East Texas, and we're talking about the full package damaging winds, large hail, and yes, tornadoes cannot be ruled out. That's not me hyping things up. That's the actual Storm Prediction Center raising a flag 5 days out, which they don't do unless the models are showing something real and consistent across multiple runs. Dallas. You're actually sitting pretty comfortable right now at 59 degrees Fahrenheit with just some rain showers possible this weekend. But March 4th is the date you absolutely need to have circled on your calendar. Fort Worth, Arlington, Irving, Garland, Frisco, and Plano. The whole DFW metro is in that warm and mild stretch right now, 70s for highs. But that severe weather setup later this week is something you need to stay weather aware for. Oklahoma City. You're in the target zone for March 4th with winds already running 15 to 25 miles per hour as that pattern gets primed. And Tulsa is watching for the same setup, so keep a very close eye on updates as we get closer. San Antonio and Austin highs in the 60s to low 70s this weekend. Scattered rain. No snow concerns obviously, but that same moist, warm air feeding your nice weather is also what's going to fuel those severe storms next week further north. If you've got any outdoor plans for the afternoon of March 4th in the Southern Plains or Deep South, a cookout, a kids game, anything like that, start making a backup plan right now, because this could be a significant severe weather day. Houston, heavy rain is possible this weekend with temps in the mid-60s, and New Orleans is dealing with rainstorms as that active pattern keeps pumping Gulf moisture northward. Nothing severe for y'all this weekend, but stay tuned for next week. Nashville and Memphis, you're both in the frequent storms and rain camp this weekend. Highs in the 50s, winds 10 to 20 miles per hour, and Nashville. You know how fast things can escalate when the moisture and cold air interact in the Mid-South. All right, let's swing south to the southeast and Florida real quick, because it is honestly a completely different planet down there compared to what folks in the northern tier are going through. Atlanta 57 degrees Fahrenheit for a high. Rain showers, no snow, winds 10 to 15 miles per hour, pretty standard late February stuff for Georgia. And nothing that should cause any major disruptions. Jacksonville is getting some heavy rain this weekend that's bringing desperately needed drought and fire relief highs in the 70s. And honestly, that rain is more than welcome down there after what they've been dealing with. Miami takes the gold medal in today's forecast high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit, low of 64 degrees Fahrenheit, scattered showers, light winds paradise, while the rest of the country is out here battling ice and winter storms. Tampa, Orlando, Cape Coral, and Port St. Lucie all sitting in the 70s to low 80s with heavy rain delivering that drought relief. And Honolulu is doing what Honolulu always does, 80s, breezy and absolutely gorgeous. Now let's head out west, and the contrast out there is wild right now, because you've got record-breaking warmth in the desert Southwest happening at the exact same time as heavy rain hammering the Pacific coast. Phoenix and the entire Valley Mesa, Scottsdale, Chandler, Gilbert, Glendale, all sitting in the low to mid-70s, dry, light winds, and breaking February temperature records like it's nothing. It is genuinely spring-like out there right now. Tucson 70s and dry. El Paso and Albuquerque running mild and quiet. Las Vegas and Henderson in the 60s with completely dry conditions if you're anywhere in the desert Southwest this weekend. Weather is the last thing on your mind. Denver, Aurora, and Colorado Springs. Here's where the West gets interesting, because you're sitting in the 40s with light snow possible and winds 10 to 20 miles per hour below average temps have been digging in across the Front Range, and mountain conditions remain active. And then up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle and Portland are getting absolutely hammered by heavy rain. Highs in the 40s. Winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. That wet atmospheric river pattern has been locked in for weeks now, and there's no relief in sight this weekend. Los Angeles high of 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Scattered rain possible Sunday. And you're still feeling the aftermath of those atmospheric river storms earlier this month that caused serious flooding across Southern California, winds 5 to 15 miles per hour, and no snow concerns. San Diego, Long Beach, Anaheim, Irvine, and Santa Ana all in that mild SoCal pattern. Possible light coastal rain. Highs in the 60s. Nothing alarming, and San Francisco and Oakland are getting their share of rainy days with highs in the 50s. Sacramento and Fresno watching for possible rain with highs in the 60s as those Pacific systems continue rolling in, while Boise, Idaho picks up some light snow with winds 10 to 20 miles per hour and that colder pattern staying locked in across the northern Intermountain West. Down in South Texas, Corpus Christi and Laredo are in the 70s to 80s. Anchorage. Alaska is running cold in the 20s with snow possible, and look, if you want to know what your city's forecast is and we haven't mentioned it yet, drop it in the comments and we'll make sure we cover it in our next update. Okay, now here's where this whole weather story takes a turn that I genuinely want you to understand, because what happens after March 10th could be a very big deal, and the models have been hinting at it for days. There's been a lot of chatter in the meteorology community about another sudden stratospheric warming event, essentially. A disruption of the polar vortex that dislodges a massive dome of cold air and sends it south. Now, this already happened once earlier this winter. That's part of what gave us some of those brutal cold snaps, and right now, the models are locked into the idea of it happening again. But the timing of when it actually impacts the lower 48 is still being figured out. Here's the honest read. There are teases in the last 24 hours of model runs that suggest cold air could unleash just after March 10th, and if that plays out. You're talking about temperatures dropping 25 to 30 degrees below average in parts of the country. But before we get there, March 5th through March 9th is looking like one of the warmest stretches of the entire season for the eastern half of the country. and that's something the models are very confident about. We're talking temperatures running 15 degrees above average from the Gulf Coast all the way up through the mid-Atlantic 60s, 70s, and 80s along the Gulf Coast. And some spots in South Texas could potentially flirt with 90 to 100 degrees. That's not a typo. South Texas already hit temperatures in the low hundreds just recently, breaking February records, and more of that anomalous warmth is absolutely on the way heading into early March. Even way up in the Midwest and Great Lakes places that are dealing with snow and ice right now, this weekend could easily see highs in the 40s and 50s by the time we get into that March 5th through 9th window, which is straight up weird for that time of year. And here's the kicker in response to all that warm, moist air flooding northward. The Storm Prediction Center's own discussions are already acknowledging that severe weather could be possible on multiple days during that active pattern, not just March 4th. The Euro Ensemble is showing a high risk of heavy precipitation from March 7th through the 10th across parts of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South, and the Mississippi Valley, and that's actual human forecasters at the Climate Prediction Center backing that signal up. We're also potentially looking at 4 inches or more of rain total across areas of Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Missouri over the course of the next 10 to 13 days, all rain, not snow, for the South. But flooding is going to become a real concern. And if you've noticed that it seems like it's been snowing, icing, or raining every single weekend since December across the South, yeah, you're not imagining it. That pattern has been absolutely relentless, and it doesn't look like it's taking a break anytime soon. Now, right around March 9th to 10th, here's the scenario that's making forecasters raise an eyebrow. A massive storm system could eject out of the Rockies, producing winter weather on its cold western side, severe weather and rain on the warm eastern side, all at the same time. It's what forecasters call a high-impact event, and while we're not going to overcommit to the exact details at 300-plus hours out, the fact that multiple model runs are independently arriving at the same general picture is worth taking seriously. And then this is the part that could really change everything just after March 10th. If that polar vortex disruption plays out the way models are hinting, you could see cold air crashing back down into the mid-latitudes in a big way. Picture this. The eastern U.S. goes from 80-degree temperatures in early March to a potential cold air outbreak just days later. That kind of temperature whiplash is absolutely something that can happen in March. And right now, the models are hinting at exactly that. Snow chances overall are starting to dwindle. Yes, but starting to dwindle doesn't mean gone. And that potential late-season cold shot could catch a lot of people off guard who've already mentally checked out of winter. Meanwhile, we also have to talk about fire weather because, simultaneously, the plains through the mid-Mississippi Valley are dealing with dry, warm, and windy conditions that are raising serious fire danger right now. Think about that contrast for a second: fire weather threats in the South and Central Plains, winter storm threats in the Midwest and Northeast, and a growing severe weather setup for next week, all happening at the same exact time across the same country. That is what a genuine weather pattern transition looks like. This is winter and spring arm wrestling. And right now, neither side is winning cleanly, which is exactly what makes March so wild. All right, let's bring it home with the bottom line. Because here's what you actually need to know heading into this weekend and the week ahead. If you're in the Midwest or Great Lakes, pull up your National Weather Service app right now. Watch for winter storm watches and warnings in your county over the next 24 hours. And do not wait until the morning of to check on travel conditions. If you're in the Northeast, the Tuesday event is the one to watch more closely than the weekend system. Ice accumulation under a quarter inch, but even that thin glaze can be genuinely dangerous. So take it seriously. If you're in the South or Deep South, enjoy this warm stretch. It's going to be beautiful for a few days, but mark March 4th on your calendar right now and stay weather aware as that severe weather risk continues to develop. If you're on the West Coast, keep that rain jacket handy. The wet pattern is not going anywhere. And Colorado and the Mountain West. Your active snow pattern continues with more systems rolling through. And for all of you, wherever you are, keep your eyes on what happens after March 10th. Because if that polar vortex disruption signal verifies, We could be looking at one more significant cold event before spring truly takes hold. We'll be watching every model run, tracking every storm system, and bringing you updates on all of it because the next 2 weeks of weather across this country are shaping up to be genuinely remarkable, in all kinds of different ways. One last thing before we go, tell us in the comments, which city do you want us to do a full deep dive forecast on next time? And are you in a snow zone, a rain zone, or one of those lucky spots sitting in the 70s right now? Stay weather aware. Keep those alerts on, and we will see you in the next update because this forecast, it is far from over.